Good evening. My name is Fredrick John Hinkel Sr., but most of my friends would call me Fred or Freddie. My father was from Germany. He moved to the United States, married, and had 3 children. I was the youngest and part of the first generation born here in the States. I was born September 3rd, 1923, and I was raised right down the road at 1121 Huey P. Long Avenue, right next to a young girl named Aretha. I was working as a cabinet maker at Dixie Sales Company when I was drafted into World War II. I left Gretna at 19 years old and reported for duty on February 18th, 1943. Now, during my time in the Army as a PFC medic in the Philippines, it was my duty to transport wounded soldiers. The sights I saw were horrific, and I never really spoke of them after that. I was part of the Victory Division's 21st Infantry Regiment. We battled it out with the enemy in places such as Hollandia, Penang, Leyte, Mindoro, Lubang, and Mindanao. One of the things that got me through that time were the countless letters I received from my neighbor, Aretha. On May 9th, 1945, I was wounded in the line of duty. I was shot in the shoulder, and I spent 6 weeks in the hospital. I received a honorable discharge and a Purple Heart. I also took home with me what I called my souvenir, a piece of shrapnel that was left in my back. The Times-Picayune eventually wrote an article about me coming home from the war. 6 months after returning from the war, I married that girl next door who had written me countless letters while I was away, Aretha Delger. We were married at St. Joseph Church on July 3rd, 1946. We moved into a house on Newton Street until we were able to build our own home on Whitney Avenue. Together, we had 4 children: Freddie Jr., Faye, Steve, and Mark. We had 7 grandchildren, and today there are 7 great-grandchildren. Now, I continued to work as a cabinet maker, this time at New Orleans Cabinet Works. While there, we built bars around the area and in Fat City. One such bar that we built was at Down the Hatch. That bar was built like a ship. Aside from cabinet work, I managed an apartment complex. I bartended. I cleaned at Hotards. And I even cleaned parking lots in the early mornings. Eventually, I was able to open a snowball stand. I called it Wheatsies. Wheatsy was the nickname that I would call Aretha. When the kids were young, they would swing by Wheatsies and they would pitch in from time to time. Now, I had the reputation of being tight with money, but I just considered myself a hard-working middle-class man. I was doing what I needed to do to provide for my family. I was often quoted saying, "I'll do anything to make a dollar." In January of 1959, after a fishing trip, my brother and I noticed a car in the canal of Peters Road, and there was a man drowning. Now, I was not a good swimmer, but my instincts kicked in. I hopped in the canal, and I was able to save that man's life. Now, I didn't just work hard. I had my fun. I enjoyed fishing, I collected coins, and I would vacation in Grand Isle. I retired in 1980, but I was still watching my dollars. I began collecting coupons, and I found myself buying things I didn't even need, just because they were cheap. When the kids or the grandkids would come by the house, Weetsy and I would hand them a bag, and they would just go shopping. Now, in 1998, my Weetsy and I lost our daughter, Faye, to cancer at the young age of 48. Now, as hard as that was, I tried to focus on the loved ones and my family that were still with me and tried to live my life still to the fullest. Now, in January of 2006, my Weetsy left me at the age of 76. She died in surgery, and I wasn't ready. 100 short days later, in April, I was reunited with my Weetsy at the age of 82. I passed away peacefully at my son's house, surrounded by my loving family. After my death, my oldest son passed in 2019 at the age of 72. Now, my youngest two sons, they're here with us tonight, literally taking the tour tonight. Thank you for listening to my life story. I hope you enjoy the rest of your tour. And just in case you were wondering, yes, that shrapnel is still in my back. Thank you.